Hello everyone, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV and welcome to Newcastle United's training ground. Obviously it's very quiet here, unlikely to see any players as the majority of them are on international duty or on holiday in Dubai with the rest of the players. Obviously you might see Sven Botman having a cheeky ice bath, but you won't see many players. Eddie Howe and all that are nicely sunbathing and enjoying themselves over there in Dubai at the minute, while I'm standing here in windy, freezing Newcastle, and no doubt it'll start lashing it down any minute now. But we're here because I thought, you know what it is, I'm going to come to the training ground, get my daily steps in, you know how it is. We'll come to the training ground, film on location for you lot, because we have got to say, something needs investigated here. It has to be, man. And I see a lot of frenzy online, so that's what we're talking about off the back of the Sven Botman news. Last night it came out that he is injured for up to 9 months with an ACL injury. Honestly, man, this has got to be the worst season for injuries in the history of football for any football club ever. Who's that coming out the tractor? Oh, look, it's Tonali's tractor. But you've got to say, this has got to be an absolutely devastating spell. The most devastating ever. It has to be, man. I've never known across world football, across anything, I'm talking Premier League, Champions League, Spanish League, Sunday League, there has never been this amount of injuries ever, man. And the extent of the injuries as well, it's not just short-term injuries, it is long-term, sustained injuries that have been happening here at the club. Now, we expected, with ourselves being in 4 competitions, with qualifying for Europe, that would obviously get more injuries, more games, more injuries, less time to repair, less time to recover, straight back in action against the elite of Europe. So you knew that there was going to be problems, but bloody hell, man, the extent of these injuries is off the scale, and that's why a lot of people are saying, what is going on behind me at this training ground? What is going on with the physio department? I mean, we just spent £10 million, by the way. The new owners have spent £10 million on upgrading this site behind me. The pitch must be ruined. What's going on? Is it cursed? Was it built on an ancient burial ground or what? Because how is everyone still getting injuries? Back in the day, in the wheelie bins for recovery, you thought, well, that's not a surprise that everyone's knackered, sitting in wheelie bins. You're not really going to repair the muscles very well there, are they? Sitting in bloody wheelie bins. You thought the ground must be knackered, the turf's done in, you thought Ashley's not repairing or whatever. But now, we've spent £10 million on this, and it's still the same. We're still getting injuries, the worst ever. I thought these facilities would be absolutely top class. Now after spending £10 million on them. Or is it the staff? Is it bad luck? It's probably a combination of everything, to be honest, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And as always, drop your comments below. Want to hear what you've got to say, because there's been a lot of backlash on this. I did a little YouTube short when the Botman news broke last night, and obviously all over Twitter and that, and on Instagram you can follow us at the Magpie Channel. You can see for yourself in the comments, people losing the plot and are kicking off saying, what's going on? This is Eddie Howe's fault. It's happening at Bournemouth. We'll talk about that soon as well. His record in the past. They're saying what's going on with these physios? We've seen them popping bloody Gordon's knee out at Chelsea the other week. You know, they don't know what they're doing. We're going to discuss all of that right now. Then, obviously, off the back of the Sven Botman news last night, the bloke is out for up to 9 months. He could be out until 2025, man. What the hell is going on? Well, he most likely is. We're in March now. Do you know what I mean? Best case scenario is what, he comes back, start the season, a month into the season, September time. Worst case, he's back in 2025. You just couldn't make it up, or could you? Because listen, the warning signs were there with Sven Botman's injury. I was calling him Sven Boomsong after the last couple of games because he'd been that bad, because he hadn't been himself. I was Botman's biggest fan last year. I said he was on my list of players to sign when the takeover first happened. Now, I'm not bigging myself up or anything, we just knew how highly rated he was. That's how much I liked him, so I'm not here to slate him. I love him, I think he's a brilliant player. We then seen that when we signed him for what I believe is an absolute bargain at £30-odd million. A real Dutch defender, you know, a young star. He's got the best years ahead of him. He's, what is he, early 20s, 23 or something like that? You know, he's got so much time ahead of him, hopefully recover as well from this ACL injury. But you know, he is a star. He was amazing last year. This year, obviously a different story. He took that injury as Tonali off and he's tractor again. This year, you know, he took that injury early on. He's continued playing. I think the injury was against Brentford, I might be wrong, but it's Sheffield United in that 8-0 win is where he felt it'd go again after they decided to keep on playing him. So there was talks, you know, Botman would be out, you know, he's going to be missing, then he comes back and everyone's like, oh wow, Botman's back already. And after the Sheffield United game, there was talks that he could be out for months and he might need surgery, that it could be his ACL and he might be out for a long time. Now, he was out for a good few months, Sven Botman, and it was this interview with Keith Downey, I'll whack it on the screen there now, of what he said to Sky Sports, Keith, back in January. So it's on your screen there. And this is what's caused a bit of a stir online. We thought I was going to need surgery, we thought I was going to be out. Certain people were saying this, others were saying that. So no one knew, essentially, is what Botman is saying there. He's saying that, you know, they thought certain surgeons were saying, yeah, operate on it, needs to be done, it's going to be out for 9 months. Others were saying, well, actually, if you just rest, recover, take it easy for a couple of months, you should be back. They've obviously risked that, they went with the latter, and now it's massively backfired. Obviously now, he does need that operation that he should have had months ago. Imagine if he had just had it months ago, he'd be fit and ready for pre-season, he'd be ready to go. They've gambled, and it hasn't paid off at all. And that's the thing here, why gamble? If it's 50-50, if certain people are saying, oh, you know, you might need surgery, just take the surgery. And I know, obviously, we're in a position there where we're fighting for cups and we're trying to stay in the Champions League and stuff, but it's just too much of a gamble for me for a young defender like that. Listen, we've actually got a few centre-backs. Lascelles could have came in like he did when Botman was out for a couple months. Lascelles did really well. Dan Burn could actually play centre-back instead of fucking left wing-back and then play a left wing-back there. Lewis Hall! He might be, yeah? Is he just hanging about? He's probably fucking, that's him when he's he's probably doing the grass. He's probably picking plants or something. He's probably not invited to Dubai. He's probably been left here. Probably replacing the font on that sign. He's probably in that box, security hall. It's a horror show from Newcastle. We've really cocked it up there. Whether it was Eddie Howe, whether it was the coach and staff, Graham Jones, or the physios, or probably everyone's got together in a room and decided what to do. But whatever they've decided is wrong, and it is massively backfired. And they've got to take blame for that. And you know, Sven Botman's obviously saying that he wanted to play and stuff. He's always going to say, like most professional players will say that. But you know, it had to be done. And you could see, I think what they should have done, fair enough, maybe take the gamble, but then when you could see that he was miles off himself when he came back from injury. He's been crap since he came back, man. He's been slow. You can see he doesn't want to turn. You can see the knee's still in pain. We could see that, I could see that, everyone could see that. Everyone's coming to say, whoa, what the hell's happened to Sven Botman? Why is he looking horrendous? This isn't Sven Botman. We know what Sven Botman. We've seen him last year. Amazing talent. And now we're seeing him and you're thinking, what's going on? Surely we should have reassessed it then and thought, this player isn't playing at all. He's not his usual self. Let's get him back in. Let's see some more specialists and let's do the other option this time. Because the first time when we gambled and decided not to get the surgery was awful. Wrong choice. Really, really wrong choice. That's why people are kicking off saying, yeah, there's something needs to happen with the physios. I've seen people saying Saudi Arabia need to step in and sack the physios and replace them with world-class professionals. Obviously, I'm not here to say people should be replaced at a job and all that, but it's the questions have got to be asked. And like I've said in the title, and like people are saying online, it needs to be investigated because these injuries are beyond a joke now. It's taking the piss now because yes, I know lots of competitions at the start, not big squad depth, but again, it's gone too far. You can accept 1, 2 or 3, but this many injuries, right? Because we're not just here talking about Sven Botman, right? We're going to move on to the other ones, yeah? Joe Linton, in and out all season, never got a good run. Now he was ruled out for what, 6 months or something. He'd been missing since the Mackhams, missing since the Sunderland game. Out injured and is going to be out for months. And then we've obviously got Elliot Anderson, who had been out for months. He's just came back. He's been in and out most of the season as well. We've got Harvey Barnes with the biggest freak injury ever, apparently, you know, the bad toe, coming off of the bad toe. So he's been out. So Harvey Barnes obviously went off again at Sheffield. It must have been that Bramall Lane was a bit of a jinx, wasn't it? 1-8-0, but had everyone injured for months. So Harvey Barnes was then out. So then he had that bad toe. They decided not to operate on that. They decided the best decision for that was to also wait. Failed, because then he's had a setback after setback. He's been about all season, £40 million, and we've barely seen him kick a ball. Then we've had the likes of Jacob Murphy as well, whose shoulder's popped out. We heard that Jacob Murphy was going to be out for months in the press conference from Eddie Howe, and he's playing the next game. The week later, he comes on for 5 minutes, comes back off, dislocated shoulder, twice. So these decisions have been a shambles, really. They have been in utter shambles, these decisions. And that's just a few. There's probably others I've missed out there. Let me know in the comments. We don't have to talk about Callum Wilson. Well, now every year is his crack. Every year. He did do an ACL at Bournemouth, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Callum Wilson, as usual, out the team. Long term now. Nick Pope, obviously, big long-term injury. So there's one or two like that where you look at it and you think, well, Pope was a dodgy land. It's the ones where they've made the wrong choice. The decision-making's been terrible, to be honest with you, with Barnes, with Botman, with Anderson. Bain was obviously out for a little bit. Jacob Murphy, the decision to play him. Shocking, really, with rushed players back. Sean Longstaff. Eddie Howe came out and said, stop criticising him because he's been getting injections. He's desperate. He probably needs a fucking operation. There's talks that Isak could need an operation this summer because he's not going to Sweden with the Euros. Could we maybe get him under the knife? Maybe playing for Sweden tonight, to be fair. But, you know, he's playing for us. But again, he hasn't really looked 100%, has he? At times, yes, he's starting to come back, but there was many games this season where Isak is playing and he's playing on about 20%. You know what I mean? He's barely sprinting. And he's just there because there's no one else, because there's no Callum Wilson, there's no other striker. We're nearly seen it with Gordon. You know, Gordon's had a couple of close calls now. After the Chelsea game, we thought he was going to be out for ages. So there's been close calls, there's been terrible calls behind the scenes, man, for these injuries. It's just beyond a joke now. And like I said, we knew coming into this tournament was going to be difficult. We knew this season was going to be hard. We knew there'd be injuries with the amount of games, with the effort we put in last year. You knew then that would have a follow-on effect this term where players would be feeling it, there'd be more knocks. Like I said, the luxury of last year was having the full week to recover between games and prepare for games. Now you're seeing, well, there wasn't that. You know, the training sessions weren't there. Eddie Howe was saying not enough time on the grass. The players are completely burnt out. They're injured, they're knackered, they're carrying knocks, they're getting injections, everything just to try and play. So there's a bit of that, there's a bit of both. There's bad decisions, I don't know, but like I said, and everyone's saying online now, a bit of a frenzy, there has to be an investigation because it's just too much. You can't have that many long-term injuries. It's crossed the line between bad luck now and extra games for me. Something's going on. So it's just whether it's the wrong decisions or what, I don't know. But however, there's got to be something going on. It's beyond the jinx now. It's beyond a joke. So it's all a bit mad here at the training. Well, it's not. There's no fucking happening. But I mean, this season and the injuries, absolutely ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. And we'll touch on Eddie Howe's history because, like I said, on social media, people are now pointing the blame at him because they're saying this is nothing new. And Bournemouth fans are getting involved, saying, "Well, we did warn you." And there's Bournemouth fans at the time saying, you know, he runs players into the ground. There's a stat here on your screen from his time at Bournemouth there. A few ACL injuries in one season. He had a similar season in Bournemouth when they got relegated to this one at Newcastle because he had several key players out, and that's what they said went down because obviously he was doing top 10 finishes with Bournemouth, doing brilliant stuff down there on the south coast, way overachieving. And then he had that season where all of his stars were getting injured and all of his players were knackered, and they went down. Even Brucey's side demolished them. I remember that game in lockdown. Valentino Lazaro scoring a screamer. God almighty. But that showed you. Brucey got what he wanted Eddie that day. That shouldn't happen. That really shouldn't happen. But people are saying, you know, Eddie Howe, he pushes players too soon, he brings them back, the intensity's too much day in, day out the training ground, it's not sustainable, it's not long term. And then the players get ruled out long term. So he does have a history there, but again, you could probably pick out things for that for a lot of managers. I think I'm not going to ground Eddie Howe out and say, oh, it's his principles, yeah, it's his training methods, this is why this is happening. You know, he's done it before, he's at fault. I just think it's a culmination of excessive amounts of games, the competitions we've been in, lack of squad depth, the odd freak injury thrown in there, but again, I think the decision making has been poor. I will say that, whether that's the medical department and or the coaching staff, I reckon it's a bit of both and a bit of everything, but it hasn't been great. I, for one, cannot wait for the season to finish. 10 games left, we've said on the podcast, it's not over, still fight for Europe, still looking forward to that, but it's going to be good to start fresh in the summer. Euros is coming, get some players signed here. We'll be back in the training ground this summer, hopefully, when we get some new faces through the door. As always, drop your comments below, people. What do you make of the injury crisis that's been at the Toon this year? Please subscribe to my channel TV if you haven't already. Give this one a like, and I'll see you on the next one.